What's going on, guys? Dan from SSG bringing you another Edison format deck profile. This time I'm profiling my alien deck. It's a ton of fun. It's a deck I always toyed around with back in the day, and I think it has some potential to be good. So let's get right into it. We have the full 3 copies of Alien Omnimite, of course. This is our tuner of the deck, gives us instant access to our Galgar, which is our most powerful card out of the extra deck. Normal summon equals a 2600 stick that can also gain a bunch of card advantage. So we want full access to the Alien Omnimite. Then we have 3 copies of Alien Shocktrooper, the 1900 stick of the deck. Unfortunately, it is a vanilla and it does nothing. However, it does beat down for 19, crashes with things like Alias, attacks over various monsters. I think the card's fine, not excellent, but hey, it's 1900, it's an alien, it's what we want to be doing in Aliens. We then have 3 copies of Alien Hypno. It's a water monster, it's a Gemini, and it is a alien, which is 3 things we want in this deck. So, unfortunately, it is only 1600 attack, and its Gemini effect is not great. It can come up, but it basically never happens. 3 Hypno card is decent. It kind of is the glue of the deck, even though it's not a very powerful card on its own. Then we have the 1 copy of Alien Warrior, because let's face it, this is not a deck without Alien Warrior, right? It's just ultimate rare. It's Alien Warrior. You have to play Alien Warrior. Not optimal, but hey, 1800 Alien Monster. We have to run it. It's awesome. We have the hero package. We have Stratos, of course, just searching out our heroes, getting +1s. And then we have 3 copies of Neos Alias, of course, because it's a Gemini monster. We're going to be beating down with this card. Gives us better consistency with the Gemini Spark, but overall, just everyone knows what Alias does. It just gives us access to Miracle Fusion and Gemini Spark. We also have 1 copy of Ocean. I'm not a huge fan of this card in Edison format in general, but I think in this deck there's a lot of ways to protect it. So I do run the 1 copy. Card is fine. It's another water monster for absolute 0, which is also good, and it's good. It's searchable. Full 3 copies of Gemini Spark. We have 6 targets for this, the Alien Hypno, as well as the 3 aliases. So we're going to have a lot of consistency and trading out our cards for theirs, and that's exactly what we want to be doing. We have a lot of heavy hitters in our deck, things like Omnimite, and a few other cards we'll get into. But trading the bad cards like Hypno for our opponent's cards and then keeping our deck going is exactly what this deck wants to do, and Gemini Spark is the main reason why this deck can function, essentially. And then another heavy hitter, we have 2 copies of Miracle Fusion. Just really strong, right? You have the Hypnos being water, as well as the heroes providing absolute 0, easy access absolute 0. Don't want to go up to 3 copies. I think it's a little bit too inconsistent and kind of can de-synergize or not very synergistic, removing aliens out of your graveyard, making it not so great for your Omnimites. So 2 is fine. I think in the late game it's going to be awesome for us, and we want access to the powerful fusion monsters out of the extra deck. We have 1 Future Fusion. This card is actually excellent in this deck. Being able to send Hypno and a hero is very strong, giving easy access for Omnimite to come down, reborn the Hypno, and sync it to Golgar. You can even bounce to Future Fusion if that's what you want to do, to put some A counters on your Synchro monster. But overall, it's just a fast card, gives us easy access to set up Alien Omnimite, and that's what we play it for. We have 1 copy of Rhoda, 1 copy Ecall, making our Stratos a little bit more consistent, making our Gemini Sparks a little more consistent, grabbing the Alias. Very strong consistency cards there. Then I have 2 tech slots for the aliens. You got to play some face-up continuous spells, in my opinion. So we have the 1 copy of Prohibition and 1 copy of Messenger of Peace. You can kind of play these cards in any kind of combination, 2 Prohibition, 2 Messenger of Peace. I elected to go with 1-1 because they're just different effects that can come up in different spots. Prohibition's really strong if you have a good read on what your opponent has. You can call it against Heavy Storm just to protect all your back rows. You can call it against something like a Torrential Tribute, and then when you go to summon Omnimite, go for Golgar, and then bounce it back, and now their Torrential is dead. You can then place it back into play and call something like a Caius to prevent the Golgar from being removed. So I think this has a lot of flexibility, and it's a very strong card in general, but being able to bounce it back makes the card a lot better, and I do like having the Prohibition. And Messenger of Peace, of course, just stalling out your opponent, preventing your Golgar from being killed on your opponent's turn. bounce it back. Now you can attack or pop cards with the galgar and keep attacking, then drop it down, protect it again. Really strong card. I think being able to bounce this card is very strong, so we're going to play one copy of the Messenger of Peace. Oh, a cool thing with Messenger, you can also protect your ocean and just gain card advantage multiple turns, which is an interesting synergy that this deck does have access to. Traps, we have 3 copies of Snake Deity, offering Snake Deity. Just want to trade the bad alien cards for their cards and get to low resources. Play your alien ammonite, play your Miracle Fusion. That's exactly what this deck wants to do. You want to play full 3 copies of these offering Snake Deity. Then we have 3 Fiendish Chains. We want to abuse this card with our Golgar. The card isn't very good in Edison format in general, in my opinion, if it just stops one thing. However, if you're bouncing it, it becomes excellent. The card is amazing in that spot. Just stopping a debris dragon, bouncing it back, setting it again is already value. Like stopping any sort of normal summon. And protecting Golgar, protecting your ocean, if that's what you want to do as well. Just strong card and gets the job done. 2 copies of Skill Drain. A lot of the games we're going to be beating down with our shocktrooper, with our Gemini monsters, so being able to just have access to Skill Drain, really strong card. We are a stun deck at the end of the day, so we're going to try and stun them out. We have 2 Bottomless Trap Hole for removal sakes, as well as 1 copy of Dimensional Prison. I only have 1 D-Prison because you have the 3 offering to Snake Deity as well as the 3 Gemini Sparks. So you have a lot of access to removal, so just the 1 Dimensional Prison for now in the main deck. Then we have 1 Solemn Judgment, 1 Trap Dustshoot. Broken card, Trap Dustshoot, of course, and Solemn Judgment, just protecting our back rows, pushing through our Omnimites. We have 1 copy of Royal Oppression. This card is really interesting. I really would like to play 2, but I feel like you special summon a little bit too often in this deck to run 2. I like the one setting it behind the Golgar, stopping all their plays, and then you can bounce it with Golgar for value, getting the A counters pop their cards, then you can like set it again to prevent the special summoning. Card's really interesting in that spot, of course, and also if we're just going to be beating down, I think it's very good as well. Just 1900 Alien Shock Trooper, just beat them down. Royal Oppression sometimes can get there, so I think it's a good card in this deck. We won 1 copy. We have 1 Torrential Tribute, just solid mass removal, as well as 1 copy of Starlight Road, protecting our back rows, especially when we have to commit Prohibition or Messenger of Peace. It's kind of just an additional back row to be hit with heavy storms, and you have to set like this plus under the back row in order to be able to interact with them without being completely blown out. So I do like the 1 Starlight Road for that reason. Onto the extra deck, we have 3 Golgar, of course. Cosmic Fortress Golgar, just excellent card. It's the main reason to play aliens. We want to play all 3. Because we just want to bounce our own cards for value, pop their cards. Cards just awesome, guys. This is the reason why aliens exist. This is the reason why we should want to play aliens, so we play all 3 copies. We have 2 copies of Catastor, easy access with Omnimite. Just want to drop this down and have access to kill our opponent's stuff. Having easy access to Catastor is just awesome. Like, it's an awesome thing that this deck can do, and it's a powerful card. We want to play 2 to have multiple copies because we have access to them. 1 Android. This basically never comes up because you want to summon the Golgar over in general at all times, but also just it's 2600 and this guy's only 24. So if you need to gain life in some spot, I guess you can summon this, but most likely you won't. We have 2 copies of Stardust Dragon for Starlight Road, and then we have 1 copy of Mistworm. Because if you have a level 4 in play, then you Omnimite, bring back an alien, that's equals level 9. We want access to Mistworm as it's a powerful effect. On to heroes, of course we have the 2 Absolute Zero and 2 Gaia. So we have access to these cards, we're going to summon them, they're very powerful. That's about it when it comes to the heroes. 2 copies of chimeratech, because we have room for both, we're going to play both. We have Cyber Dragon in our sideboard. And of course, on to the sideboard. 3 copies of DD Crow, 2 copies of Cyber Dragon. You just want access to these cards. They're really strong. As many of you may know, a lot of my profiles consist of these 5 cards starting in my sideboard. Not every single deck, but I think this deck just kind of, you just want the generic good cards on the sideboard, so I think these are just great for that reason. Cyber Dragon gives the deck a little bit of a faster attack, a faster monster coming down and just applying pressure, so I think it is good in this deck. I have 2 copies of Fossil Dyna. This is an interesting one. I think the alien deck has a lot of difficulty dealing with big boards, like with multiple special summoned monsters, so just setting this down and kind of getting rid of them is very good. I think you just don't have access to Lightning Vortex in this deck because you're not really wanting to discard cards because you just kind of lose card advantage and your game plan falls apart. So just the Fossil kind of like high rolling that they attack into it and you just kill everything. Also can be good once you're beating down next to like a shocktrooper or an alias. So it's a fine card. It does a few different things and helps us clear some boards. 1 copy Doomcaliber Knight. This is one of my favorite cards ever printed, and I think it's a little underplayed in Edison format because of cards like Treeborn Frog, of course, that can just abuse and just bam, gone effect. Doomcal is just a dead card, but I think it's a good sideboard card in general, just attacking things like Goblin Zombie, attacking Dandelions, just preventing effects, and I think that the card is very good. It's 1900, it's another stick, so we're going to play 1 as sort of a tech in our sideboard. We have 2 copies of Smashing Ground. Big monsters, you know, we want to get rid of our opponent's absolute 0. That card can give us a lot of trouble, so 2 smashing, just get things out of the way. 2 copies of Dimensional Fissure. Card's really good. It synergizes with Galgar, of course, because it's a continuous spell we can bounce back to our hand. But you're just going to play it down, attack something, and then bounce it back. That's sort of the thing for value. You know, get 8 counters on our cards, but also just completely destroy some decks that just can't deal when this card is in play. So a very interesting card here that we have access to, so we're going to run it. We then have the second Royal Oppression against decks that it just kind of cleans out, and where the decks where the 1900 beatdown plan actually works, we want this card just clearing them out. We don't want any Dandelion nonsense going on. This card just kind of cleans all that up and lets us beat down, so card's very good for that reason. I have the second copy of Starlight Road. The reason why I like 2 Starlight Road in these type of decks, like 1 on the main, 1 on the side, is like sometimes the deck you can kind of get stuck in by power level, you know, just kind of attacking down with a vanilla monster. But I think like this just adds the out of having easy access to a win condition, and that's the type of power that this deck needs. So we have the second copy against things like JD, Icarus Attack. We want access to the Starlight Road. And the last card inside, just an additional copy of Dimensional Prison when we want more removal. Card's good on the side, good in the main. We're going to run that. So that's the deck, guys. Let me know what you guys would change. I believe it's a 41 card deck, so let me know what you guys would cut. I like this deck a lot. I think it has some potential, and it's just a lot of fun to play. So, I mean, anyone who's played Aliens before just knows the deck is awesome, and whoever's bounced cards with Golgar has just had a great time. So that's the deck profile, guys. And without further ado, this is Dan V from SSG signing out.